Right, so in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at the time-lapse option with the Insta360 X5. Now with the time-lapse option you can start from 5.7K, work your way to 8K and then to a whopping 11K. In all resolutions there we're going to be only allowed in 30 frames per second and the intervals will range from 2 seconds right to 120 seconds. So now let's have a look at the X5's interface, let's find that time-lapse and see what options we can get there. Here we go. Okay, so in the bottom left hand corner there, you'll just highlight that. And then we're going to scroll across until we see time-lapse. Now always ensure you've got the 360 lens highlighted at the top there. And then we'll just tap the time-lapse icon. And then at the bottom there, we're going to have some options. So if you just highlight that. And as I said at the beginning of the video, we get the 5.7K option, the 8K, and the whopping 11K now in time-lapse mode. And no matter what resolution you're in, you're only going to be able to have 30 frames per second, as you can see. 8K, 11K, all they're going to be in 30 frames. And then when you're in 5.7K 30 frames, you can start from intervals of 0.5 seconds right to 120 seconds. But when you're in 8K and 11K, the intervals will start from 2 seconds right through to 120 seconds. As you can see, 11K is just the same as the 8K option. So now let's get back to the video. Here we go. So with that 11K time-lapse, we'll be able to zoom in and zoom out on post, pan all the way around, and we won't lose any quality in the image there. And then when I've shown you each time-lapse, I'm going to switch over to the Insta360 Studio Desktop on Windows, and then I'm going to show you how to edit it there. So now you've seen that time-lapse, let's switch over to the Insta360 Studio Desktop. Here we go. Right, so now we're in Insta360 Studio. So just on the left here, we've got 3 time-lapses and they've all been shot in 11K. And just before I show you how to start editing the time-lapses, I've done an in-depth tutorial on how to set keyframes. But I'm not going to go through that today because this is just purely about the time-lapses. Right, so first of all, let's zoom into the castle there. Again, we're in 11K, so there's not been much loss of quality. So we'll just center frame that and get it angled up correctly. And then we're going to right click for that first keyframe. And as you can see on the timeline down here, we've got the first keyframe set. So now if I hit play, that's just going to stay static in one position. But we don't want to do that. We're going to get a bit creative with it here. So we'll stop it halfway. Now the only regret I have here is not setting this for 30 minutes. I mistakenly did it for 15 minutes, so I get an equivalent time lapse there of 15 seconds, and that's not really long enough if you want to get creative. But in the other time lapses, they were set on 30 minutes, which equates to 30 seconds. So now you can see we're halfway through the time lapse at 7 seconds. So now I'm going to zoom back out to get all the garden in context there, just like so. And now I'm going to hit right click and get that second keyframe. So now when I play it from the first keyframe to the second, it's going to start, as you'll see, zoomed in and then slowly start zooming out until we get to that 7-second mark, and then it'll stay there. Just like so. So now we're going to set as third and final keyframe, but before I do that, I want to scrub through the timeline right to the end there, and now I'm going to pan round to the right. Who's that? I'm going to pan round to the right And now I'm going to zoom right in. Again, we're not going to lose much quality in pixels here. That'll be okay. And now I'm going to hit the third and final keyframe by right clicking the mouse. And now when we play that back from the beginning, we'll see we've got a bit of creativity in this time lapse. Going over all 3 keyframes. So to start with, we're zoomed into the castle. And now it's moving to that second keyframe, which is zooming all the way out to get all the gardening context there. As soon as it does that, it's going to start rotating right, as well as zooming in to the third and final keyframe which I set there. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to a second time lapse. I'm just in my garden here. And again, I did this at 30 minutes, so this equates to 30 seconds, which I always recommend. So if I just hit play, that's just in a static position as you can see, but I can navigate all the way around that as it's moving. What we'll do, we'll zoom into the archway here, and then we'll set as first keyframe, so we'll right click the mouse, and then when we hit play, it's just going to be zoomed in where I left it. So now let's roll to 10 seconds, or you can scrub that to 10 seconds if you like. So we'll just pause it there at 10 seconds. Now let's navigate to somewhere else. Now don't forget we're zoomed in here, so I'll zoom out. So that's the second keyframe, and then if you want to, you'll be able to change it obviously to crystal ball, tiny planet, mega, ultra, de-warp and linear. So we'll leave it in linear so everything's straight and true. So that's the second keyframe. So now I'm going to play that from the beginning. So we're zoomed in on the arch. It's going to slowly start zooming back in, as well as it's rotating towards the house there. So that's the first 10 seconds of this time lapse. Now let's get to 20 seconds. Now let's just scrub across here. We'll just zoom into the clouds up here. Again, you can be as creative as you want, or do whatever you want inside this 360 Studio with these time lapses. So for demonstration purposes, let's just hit that right keyframe there. Again, we've zoomed in. So from the second keyframe at the house, we'll start slowly rotating up while zooming into the clouds there. And now we'll just scrub right to the end. And let's set that fourth and final keyframe. And we'll do that on this Easter Island head. Let's say about there. So now we'll hit that fourth and final keyframe. We've got all the 4 keyframes. So let's set that going from the beginning to see what that looks like. So we're zoomed in on the arch. Now we're zooming back in while we're rotating towards the house. It's going to zoom back in towards the clouds up here on the right. And when it gets to that cloud, it's just going to diagonally start dropping down for the last 10 seconds of the time lapse, all the way to that Easter Island head, whilst zooming in. And then that's the finish there. Again, you can be as creative as you want with these. You can zoom in, zoom out, pan all the way around. Just always have them in 11K and always set the intervals to a minimum of 30 minutes. So you're going to get that 30 seconds to play with there inside of the studio. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today on the time-lapse option there with the Insta360 X5. And as you've seen from the 11K time lapses, you can basically do what you want with inside the Insta360 Studio. And I like to zoom in and pan around there, and you just don't lose any losses in quality with that 11K option there. So as always, do stay tuned to the channel, as there's going to be plenty more videos on the horizon, especially with testing out the newly released X5. But for now, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and bye for now.